This short talk is about some keys to success as a coach, not so much with the elite athlete, but with the clients that I call everybody else, the 99.9999% of the population. This talk is called The 5 Interlocking Keys, and as we go through it, it's going to sound fairly basic and fairly simple, but be very careful about ignoring these 3 supporting points to goals and assessments. I think the coach's job is to constantly live in this flowing relationship between what the goal is and the assessment. The word coach means that I'm a vehicle, a carriage that takes you from here to there. The goal is there. And my job is to constantly make sure we're on the right path to there. Pretty simple, but that's what we do. Let's begin. One of the most important insights you'll ever hear in your life is this particular slide. Your clients or your athlete's goals are the most important thing. And you really should put that up on a big sign on the wall and maybe every day touch it, like they do at Notre Dame, play like a champion today. You constantly have to remind yourself that your client's goals are the most important things that you have. Well, let's talk about goals just a little bit right now. Goals, most of us think of it basically 2 things, You are here, and you want to get there. The problem is that most of goal setting has been established for less than 1% of the population. It would be for elite athletes or sales forces and things like that. Here are these numbers we want you to get to. You're a shot putter throwing 50 feet. We want to get you to 75 feet. A mere 25-foot improvement, 50%. But that's not really true for most of us. But, like I note here in the notes, elite athletes typically know where they want to go. They want to play in the NFL. They want to go to the Olympics. They want to be on some professional team. They want to achieve something, finish a triathlon, something like that. These are the 1%ers. And sadly, most of us focus on that group. My job is to get the people who are in this 1%, the elites, the best and the brightest in sports and things like that, is to get them to remind themselves that what gets you to the top is the basics, the fundamentals. I hate to say it, but it's the boring stuff. Most people, oddly, know exactly where they are. When I sit down with some people sometimes, it breaks my heart to hear what they say. These are actual quotes. I'm so fat. I hate the way I feel. My husband won't touch me. These are true. With elite athletes, it's pretty simple to deal with the A because, a shot putter throws 50 feet. That's where they are. The B can be a little hazy, but generally it's farther, better, or something, okay? With most of the population, they know exactly where they are. But the problem is getting them to understand point B. Now, I got to thank Lee Peel for these great photographs here. I do wish the picture in 25 was a little bit better because 25% body fat for a female actually looks very good, and that the way that picture is made isn't fair. But most people I work with need to know their point B. Now, I used to talk about it this way, not your point Z. And what the idea there is, if you're working with a 72-year-old grandmother and she says, I want to look like the young lady on the cover of Shape magazine. Well, with the amount of photoshopping they do in pictures today, I don't know if that's going to happen. And 2, basically, cover models are just kind of born better than the rest of us. With the help of Steve Ledbetter, I've come to discover that we now say A, not A goals. Most people, when they talk about goal setting, basically say to you, and this is true in my case, you see this person here? That's not me. Let me say it one more time. You see this person here? It's not me. as I say this today, I'm 3 times 21 years old. But in my head, I think I'm 21. I think I'm discus throwing at Utah State. I can stay up all night having a great time, wake up in the morning, keep my GPA really high, train for hours at an elite level, and repeat that and repeat that and repeat that. That's not necessarily true anymore. This is me. And to establish a better goal for me, it's going to take a lot more work than just putting a picture up and saying that's what I want to look like. For most people, there's a need for a reasonable goal. This brings up a point I don't always spend a lot of time with, but it's important you hear this. Sherlock Holmes was a master of problem solving. I see fat loss as a problem. When I go online sometimes, I hear it sold as something else. It's sold as a mystery, and I include the Scooby-Doo mystery van there. What's a mystery? Well, why does someone love me? Why do I love someone? Those are mysteries. You never want to come out with a list of why you love somebody. That's a very quick way to end up in a very bad weekend. Mysteries are those things in life that you just can't ever solve. I always use this example. If I take my keys and I throw them in the garbage there, and then I take my garbage and I throw it in the can out on the curb, and then the garbage guy comes by, takes my garbage, takes it to the local landfill. With enough money and enough energy and enough time, we could find my set of keys. It might take us hiring 3 million people to go through every ounce of garbage that's in the landfill to find them. But with enough energy and resources, we could solve that problem. Mysteries are those problems. Mysteries are those things you can't solve. One of the things I'd like to really get across in the art of coaching is most of the stuff we deal with is problem solving. But if we sell it as mysteries, we're just being hucksters, and the worst kind of hucksters. Let's get back to our point here. These are the 5 interlocking keys. Goals and assessment swimming together, and then 3 other things I want to talk about. Basically, your clients want results. And the biggest issue here, why is it always fat loss? And that's fine. Except no matter what gym I go to, the topic is always fat loss, always fat loss, always fat loss. And sadly, with the way they market things on television and in ads in newspapers and in magazines, there's always the promise of a little pill that you can take that'll answer all your questions. And that's just not true. Let's look at this in a much more appropriate way. The 5 interlocking keys. Number 1 is this, and this sounds so basic, so fundamental, but it's important, especially when you're working with somebody who's uncomfortable about the way they look. Your clients, and this is a quote, don't want to look stupid. It took me a while to throw my arms around it, but now I have a much better understanding. It's a very simple point. Everybody wants results, but don't make me feel stupid. By the way, I like those 2 pictures there because, we're still stuck, as we'll discover in the binary discussion, between fit or fat, and that's not good. But there's a more important way of looking at this, and it's the idea of I don't want my clients to feel stupid. I don't want my clients to feel like they look stupid. So we're going to seek mastery. Basically, it's pretty simple. Don't make me look stupid. Don't put them in a situation that makes them uncomfortable. That's why when I'm working with females in the weight room, I spend a lot of time making sure that their mastery of the movements makes them feel comfortable with doing the movements in front of other people. The next point is pretty important. Your clients, at some level, want community. That's something you have to always keep in mind. And it's something I work very hard on when I'm training people. I have a concept called intentional community. You would know that from my work with the Coyote Point Kettlebell Club. And of course, the gym that I have now, we have that several days a week, where it's basically anybody who shows up is happy to train. Community is important. And there's a but there. The word fit in fitness comes from the Nordic word to knit. And I constantly tell people that the healthier you are, the more knitted you are. It sounds odd when I first say it, but fitness is knittedness. And I also have a little thing here that the word tone comes from the same root as tune. So one of the things I try to do with people when I train them, and I'm hoping you do it too, is bring them knitted into a community, and then we're going to do a tune-up. There's two kinds of community that I think are important, and I think every gym needs to know this. There's what I call the vertical community, and that goes backwards. I'm reminded of one of my great athletes I work with, Dale Nielsen, and I will still tell stories about how this young man decided that the power snatch and overhead squat, he called it the exercise, how he did that by himself constantly in his basement getting ready for football season, a season where he gained up to 200 yards per game, an amazing year. I still share that story with my athletes. There's a couple things about it. One, he picked a really good exercise, but two, the work he did in the basement paid off on the field of play. When I tell you that story, that should inspire you. Of course, my coaching tree, Dick Notmeyer, Dick Notmeyer handing down his lessons, and I hand them down to you. Ralph Mahn, another expert storyteller. The word religion basically means to link back. And in a sense, what we do on the vertical side is religion. I'm going to link back my story back to the stories Dick Notmeyer told me, or Ralph Mahn told me, back to the stories, back to the stories, back to the stories. And it's your job to send those stories down to your people too. The Coyote Point Kettlebell Club was established. It is a story. A whole bunch of people just got together, and now I think it's influenced the way many people train across the world. I make the joke about, it's not a joke, but on my daughter's wedding, I turned to my godson Seth and I said, "We have got to have a handkerchief here. We have got to have a handkerchief." And he freaked out because he didn't know what a handkerchief was, but he went to a store and bought me some, because at my daughter's wedding, I had turned into my own father, and my father believed that you always had to have a handkerchief. And at my next daughter's wedding, this is emotional, but I had a handkerchief the week before at my brother's funeral, and it was filled with my tears for Phil. And what was blue, something borrowed, something blue at her wedding, was the handkerchief that was soaked in my tears. It's a nice story, but that's the way vertical community works. And you got to think about it that way. But there's also horizontal community. And I think good gyms do this naturally, but I'd like you to think about it in your own work. Many gyms will have a Sub for Santa program or something along those lines. 5K runs for charity, push-ups for charity, which became very popular about a decade ago. One of my favorite things is when someone brings a friend or a family member to the gym to train with us. I think there's nothing more wonderful than when a father and son or a mother and daughter train together. The outreach that many gyms do to the community in both fundraisers and just letting people know with free workouts, come on by. The gym I train at has a really big emphasis on blood cancers, because the owner of the gym had a fight, a very successful fight against blood cancer. Results bring people into your gym, but community keeps them there. And now, let's look at this all together. You constantly want to keep circling around goals and assessments, but you also want to make sure that you have results. At some level, your people have to succeed. Number two, they can't look stupid doing it. And that's a quote, and trust me, it's the best I've ever heard. And there must be some kind of community. It's interesting because one of the biggest chains in America, fitness chains, has basically been closing for a while, and it's probably closed by this time. What's amazing about this gym is that no one felt stupid. The workouts were very simple, the machines were very forgiving, and you just moved from machine to machine to machine. It was a very welcoming place. But what was missing from this gym was results. People weren't getting results because the workouts were too easy. I'm sure you know of gyms that have great results, but people don't come back because they don't feel welcome. Folks, yes, the goals and assessments keep swimming around, but always make sure your clients are getting results, they feel like they're part of the community, and they never look stupid. Thank you.